The Porsche Cayenne Turbo was arguably the first true performance SUV. With that car, Porsche proved that SUVs could not only go fast, but handle well. But over time, rivals caught up. The Bentley Bentayga, Audi RS Q8 and Lamborghini Urus all claimed to be kings of the performance SUV world. And for a while they were.
But today, the empire strikes back.
This is the £140,000 Cayenne Turbo GT, the car Porsche has built to take back the performance SUV crown by turning its rivals' own weapons against them.
And there is no bigger example of that than with the engine. This car uses the same 4-litre twin-turbo V8 that you'll find in the Bentley Bentayga, Audi RS Q8 and in the Lamborghini Urus. But whereas the engine in the Urus was assembled by Volkswagen in Hungary, the engine in this car was assembled by Porsche in Zuffenhausen, and there they sprinkled on a little bit of Porsche magic. It's got new internals, new intakes, new turbos, new injectors, new cooling, and therefore it's got a shed load of power, 640 PS.
Yes, that is 10 horsepower shy of a Urus. It's also 40 horsepower shy of the Cayenne Turbo SE Hybrid. But while it might not be allowed to be as powerful as its Lamborghini cousin and could never match its electrified brother for sheer numbers, it can beat both of those for sheer speed.
Let me try and illustrate what I'm talking about. The Cayenne Turbo SE Hybrid will do 0 to 62 in 3.8 seconds. The Lambo Urus will do 0 to 62 in 3.6. This thing, well, I said I'd show you, so let me show you. Carbon brakes squeaking away. You don't want to miss this, by the way. Sport Plus, drive, brake, throttle, performance start, send. Oh, wow. This car will do 0 to 62 officially in 3.3 seconds. I have just done it in 3.2, and it will keep going until you hit an electronically limited top speed of 189 miles an hour. It's savagely quick.
So even though it's officially down on power, the reality is that this thing will outdrag a Urus, RS Q8, Bentayga, X5M, or any previous Cayenne.
How is this car, with less power than a Urus and the same weight, 2,200 kilograms, quicker? Well, I can't give you a solid engineering excuse for that, but I can give you a conspiracy theory. You see, Audi, Lamborghini, and Porsche are all from the same family, and I think this car is more powerful than the Lambo. They're just not allowed to say that.
So it's the fastest accelerating petrol-powered SUV. But it's not just good in a straight line.
This thing corners like physics don't exist. Look at this. How is it moving like this? It's ridiculous.
Well, that's because Porsche has worked extensively to beef up its handling ability. The chassis has been lowered by 17mm over the Cayenne Turbo. The rear damper mounts are now stiffer. The front dampers are too, with longer auxiliary springs.
All of that stuff means it corners like it has no right to. Look at this, it's flat, it's responsive, it's agile, it's composed. All words that you wouldn't really associate with an SUV. It's even got quite a bit of steering feel. You never get that in SUV. Honestly, this is the kind of thing that you would take to the track with no hesitation whatsoever. And in fact, that's exactly what Porsche did. They took one to the Nürburgring and set an incredible lap time of 7 minutes 38.9 seconds, a new lap record for SUVs. And if you know your ring times, you will know that that is quite an achievement. Let me put that into some kind of context for you. According to the internet, that time is quicker than a Ferrari 458 Italia. It's quicker than a Mercedes SLS AMG, quicker than a Cayman GT4. It's quicker than anyone has ever managed in a Urus. It's quicker than a Bugatti Veyron, which just goes to show that power isn't everything. And what's most alarming is that this SUV has beaten sports cars and supercars and hypercars while still being an SUV.
And quite a good one too. No sitting on the fence about that. They haven't sacrificed any practicality to deliver this extreme speed, so you still get a big 600-litre boot. And despite it using the coupe body style, which is slightly lighter than the normal SUV shape, you still get good leg and headroom.
Up front, it's nice, it's a Porsche, what do you expect? But you can tell this is the sporty Cayenne by the fact it's caked in Alcantara. There's Alcantara on the door cards, on the sport steering wheel with the yellow center marker, Alcantara on the dashboard, the grab handles, the center console, the roof lining. It's lovely in here. It's a Cayenne. If you want to learn more about these kind of cars, then watch one of my other Cayenne videos. But there is one new feature, and that is this is the first Porsche ever that I'm aware of that comes with Android Auto. Previously, Porsches only came with Apple CarPlay. So now everyone can join in the fun. Although being a bit of an Apple snob, that sounds like a bit of a downgrade to me.
Is it an upgrade where looks are concerned? Not particularly. I can't say it's as striking as a Urus or even a Bentayga, but this Arctic grey paintwork and 22-inch satin neodyme wheels, as well as the lower suspension, do give it a striking enough look. Looks you'll be quite proud of when you note the fact this is cheaper than both a Bentayga and a Urus.
Normally, you'd expect a car tuned specifically for the Nürburgring, and a lap record no less, to be absolutely awful on the public road, but it's the exact opposite of that. It's very good on the public road. The suspension isn't super soft, but it is compliant enough to float over imperfections in the road and potholes, etc. And even though it has massive 22-inch wheels, this is a car that you can actually feel quite comfortable in. The seats are absolutely brilliant. I've sat in so many high-performance SUVs over the years and walked away disappointed because the seats are just too hardcore. They install these really stiff, tough sports seats that are great for sports cars, but not ideal for people who want to use an SUV. Porsche, luckily, haven't fallen into that trap. The steering around town is a joy as well. It's super light. It's also got rear wheel steering, so the turning circle is brilliant. It's an easy car to drive when you're doing normal stuff. If I had one complaint, that might be that the carbon ceramic brakes are a little bit squeaky around town, which can be somewhat annoying and might draw attention to you. But apart from that, I can drive this car every single day, no hassle whatsoever. When you start to push on and sample the performance that's available in this car, there's a few words that describe the experience really well, one of which is alarming. It's so fast. The other one is, well, just scary or startling or just a bit mad. There are three main drive modes in the Cayenne Turbo GT, normal, sport and sport plus, with each one making the car feel a bit more hardcore the higher up you go. But there's a fourth mode accessible by the button on the mode selector switch. Push this and you engage sport response mode, and you get a 20-second timer during which the car transforms into a snarling animal. It drops into the lowest possible gear, makes the steering more responsive, makes the throttle super responsive, and then you floor it and it gives you absolutely everything. It's such an angry car. That is the magic button. That is where you deploy the full 850 Newton meters and discover how much of a mentalist this Turbo GT really is. It's just so good in the corners as well. This thing has the full suite of Porsche's chassis control systems. PDCC, Porsche Dynamic Chassis Control, which is what keeps it flat in the bends. PTV, Porsche Torque Vectoring, which is what breaks the inside wheels as you approach a bend to get you turned in. And rear wheel steering, which you should know about by now. And honestly, all those systems working together make this car, make this SUV feel like a car. The gearbox, 8-speed Tiptronic S. They could have gone for a dual clutch box, but DCTs aren't ideal for towing, so a torque converter it is. Wow. And they say they've sped up the response time of the gearbox, and I believe them because it's so responsive. It gives you exactly the gear you need when you need it. The brakes, carbon ceramics, 440 millimeters up front, 410 at the rear, super strong. I guarantee you will alarm yourself at how impressive the stopping power is in this car. Wow. That exhaust sounds good as well. It's one of the best looking in the game, but it also sounds decent. Just letting that V8 sing. Porsche might have virtually invented this segment, but over the years, competitors have caught up and in some cases even overtook. But credit to Porsche, they've fought back, they've risen to the challenge and created a super sports SUV that's better than most other super sports SUVs. In fact, they've created an SUV that's probably better than a lot of sports cars, and that is no easy feat. BMW, Audi, Bentley, Lambo, I don't know if this is checkmate, but it's definitely your move. The Cayenne is back.